Hello, everyone. Welcome to my college football Big Ten preview. Let's get started with who I think will win the Big Ten, which is Ohio State. Now that Jim Harbaugh's gone, it's the Buckeyes' turn to reestablish themselves as the best in the conference. They hired UCLA head coach Chip Kelly to be the new OC, which is a huge move. I feel he'll make the offense more dynamic. They let Kyle McCord go, and they acquired a Kansas State transfer Will Howard to be their new quarterback, which is good. They return star running back Trayvon Henderson and then pair him with Ole Miss transfer Quinshon Jenkins, which is a good move. The receiving core does lose Marvin Harrison Jr., best evidence over the last 5 years. They will have receivers to step up. I'm confident in that. The offensive line does need to play a little bit better than they did last year if they want to truly reach a title. The defense has improved in the new system from year 1 to year 2, so I expect in year 3, the new system, they'll play even better. Now, their schedule is not easy, having to go to Oregon and to Penn State, so they have to at least split one of those if they want to make it to the Big Ten title game and win the Big Ten. Next is Oregon. I love that they got Dylan Gabriel, the former ACF Oklahoma quarterback, as their new quarterback now that Bo Nix is gone. I love the move there. They have a lot of interesting weapons. The majority of their great offensive line returns. For the defense, they acquire great players for their secondary to match their proven linebacking core. The defensive line is the only unit on the team that has some question marks or a little bit iffy on, but in year 3 for head coach Lane, it's making the playoffs or bust at this point. Next is Penn State. The Nittany Lions can't use being in a hard division with Michigan and Ohio State anymore as an excuse for not getting over the hump and winning the Big Ten because there's no divisions anymore. On offense, Penn State has hired Kansas offensive coordinator Andy Kotelnicki. I feel like he's going to very much improve the offense instead of just being a boring run and pound offense, like make it more explosive, which would be interesting for Big Ten football. If they return quarterback Drew Aller in year 3, and he should be better. Both running backs, Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen, had really good freshman seasons, but kind of had sophomore slumps last year. So they need to get back on track for Penn State to reach the highest levels they can. And I feel like they will, especially with the new offensive coordinator who likes a lot of different run formations to use. The receivers have some question marks, and the O-line has to replace 3 starters. So that's what's the hesitancy there about their offense. Now, they did bring in Indiana coach Tom Allen to be their new defense coordinator, and then Manny Diaz is at Duke. The defense has a lot of stars returning and made some good moves in the transfer portal. Now, what's interesting is, they get Ohio State home, and they get no Michigan and no Oregon on the schedule. So for James Franklin, if he can't make the title game this season, good luck. Next is, of course, the defending national champions of Michigan. Jim Harbaugh wanted Sharon Moore to replace him as the coach. And he has big shoes to fill, obviously. Can he sustain the success that Harbaugh had? If so, year 1 would be the year since he has a lot of Harbaugh's original recruits that are still on the team. The defense will be just fine. They return a lot of starters from last year's defense. The offense is what has the question marks, obviously, with Blake Corum gone and obviously J.J. McCarthy gone. They'll have either Alex Orji or Jack Till be the starting quarterback. They do return Donovan Edwards, running back Donovan Edwards, which is huge since they did lose Blake Corum, as I mentioned earlier. They do have a top 5 tight end in college football coming back. They do need new receivers, however, to step up, and they do have a few stars on the offensive line that they do need to replace. So it'll be interesting to see what Michigan could do. I mean, they won't fall off the map per se, but to say they're going to be national championship good is a stretch. But at least, like I said, contend the Big Ten. Next, you got Iowa, the Hawkeyes. They've benefited from being an easy division, but despite no divisions anymore, they still got the luck of the draw with a pretty easy Big Ten schedule. So basically, can Iowa just finally have a pulse on offense instead of just being all defense, no offense? It helps that they returned quarterback Caden McNair, who got injured halfway through last year. The offensive line is a very senior-heavy group. We know the tight ends is going to be good, and we know the running back is going to be good. Not a lot of proven receivers, but again, it's not their style of offense. They did bring in a new offensive coordinator from Western Michigan head coach Tim Lester, so we'll see if that makes a difference or not. Probably not, but we'll see. Iowa's a sleeper in the Big Ten. And then USC is another, I would say dark. I know USC doesn't seem like a dark horse, but in this case, they're a little bit of a dark horse because they're 8-5 last year, so they need to bounce back. Miller Moss, who played well in the bowl game, will have some big shoes to fill replacing Caleb Williams, but I feel like he'll do a decent enough job because they return a lot of weapons on offense in the offensive line. They brought in some transfer portal guys to help improve that since that was the main issue last year. Obviously, the defense is always key with Lincoln Riley, but he finally let go Alex Grinch and brought in UCLA's defensive coordinator, Deanton Lynn, who was one of the best defensive coordinators in the Pac-12 last season. So that was a good move for them. Now their schedule's not easy, so we'll see if the Trojans could be contenders like I think they could potentially be. And then another dark horse potential contender is Nebraska. Usually, in year 2 of Matt Rule in this program is where they make the big improvement. They brought in 5-star quarterback Dylan Raiola to try to upgrade the offense. The defense was good last year, especially the defensive line. That'll be the case once again. And they brought in a lot of good transfer portal guys and had a good, pretty decent, recruiting class, like I just mentioned. Now there will be a lot of young guys that'll be playing, so that's why I don't feel like they're going to be like actually go win the Big Ten or anything like that, because there'll be some inconsistencies with playing a lot of younger guys. But I do feel like they'll finally make a bowl game and show that hey, things are going the right direction for Matt Rule. Which if you're Nebraska, you're just dying to make a bowl game at this point. Now here are some other teams that should or could make a bowl game. One is Illinois. The Fighting Illini showed some regression last year. But the team could potentially get back on track. Quarterback Luke Altmaier was inconsistent last year, but he showed signs that when he played well, Illinois won their games. The defense was pretty good last year, and that should be the case once again. That they do have a tough road schedule, so they have to defend their home turf if they want to make a bowl game. Next is actually kind of a surprise because a lot of people have them not making a bowl game at all and be like the bottom of the conference, but that is Indiana. The Hoosiers made a right move to hire a new coach. They brought in one of the hottest coaches on the market, in James Madison's Kurt Kudnetti. He brought in veteran Ohio quarterback Curtis Rourke to help out with the offense, and he brought in 13 players from his old school and then 31 transfers overall to reshape the roster. I'm not sure if it'll automatically lead the bowl game, but they'll definitely be contention for it. Next is Michigan State. The Spartans hired Oregon State head coach Jonathan Smith to lead them back to glory, like Mike D'Antoni did in the good old days there. Can he do it in year 1? Odds are probably not, but he's brought in 50 transfers on the defense to try to improve that side of the ball. And on offense, he's brought in some guys from his former school. And then it'll be Oregon State transfer Aiden Childs, and then North Dakota transfer Tommy Schuster to be a quarterback there. Again, I'm 50-50 on them making the bowl game. We'll see. Another one is Rutgers. Head coach Greg Schiano performed his magic and got Rutgers to a bowl game last season. And I don't think the Scarlet Knights will be slowing down anytime soon. Schiano's now starting to recruit very well. They will have a new quarterback in Minnesota transfer, Athen, called Lekaminas. He wasn't that good in Minnesota, so we'll see if he can improve with Schiano. They have a veteran offensive line they hope be protected by, and a very good running back, underrated running back in Coleman and Augie. The defense will be interesting. They were a bad rushing defense last year, but a great passing defense. We'll see if that could be improved. Next, Washington. When you're a program that makes the title game, you have a chance to lose a lot of production, and that's exactly what happened with Coach DeBoer going to Alabama. They replaced him with Arizona's Jed Fish. They acquired Mississippi State transfer Will Rogers to replace Michael Penix Jr. quarterback. Fish has hit the transfer portal hard to bring in good weapons to replace the elite ones from last year's team. The offensive line will have something to prove. And the defense was very inconsistent last year, but maybe with the portal guys brought in, maybe they're decent. Again, I feel like for Washington, the goal is just to get to a bowl game to show that, hey, like the momentum that Fish was building in Tucson can translate to Seattle. And then last but not least, you got Maryland. The Terrapins will have a different quarterback with Tua's brother, Tayola, finally gone, but they brought in NC State transfer MJ Morris to replace him. He was inconsistent during his time in Raleigh, but he has potential and can improve under head coach Mike Loxley, who gets the most out of his quarterbacks. They return a lot of their top running backs and receivers. The offensive line did lose a lot of stars, though, so that'll be kind of interesting to navigate there. Now, the defense has been pretty good over the last few years, so they'll rely on that. Their schedule is a little bit difficult, so they'll have to pull off an upset or two somewhere in order to make a bowl game. Next, for teams that probably will not make a bowl game, you got Minnesota, which I know they usually make a bowl game, but in this case, I'm not buying it. The Gophers play very, very similar to Iowa. Good defense, bad offense, and Four, and I expect the defense to be good once again. Now the question is the offense. They brought in New Hampshire transfer quarterback Mac Brosmer to be their new starter. Luckily the new quarterback will a solid offensive line protect him, and you have good backs to have the ball too. There's no proven depth of receiver, but again, it's just like I feel like Minnesota's good defense, bad offense will kind of come back to bite them with all the new teams coming into the Big Ten. Another one's Northwestern, who no one thought they were going to make a bowl game last year, especially when an interim head coach had to be brought in right before the season started. But that's why, as they say, you play the games. Northwestern was 6-2 one possession games last season under David Braun, and that will probably not be the case once again this season. They replace a veteran quarterback, and they will have to see if veteran Ryan Hilniski, who was there 2 seasons ago but didn't perform well, or if they give the job to an unproven guy like Mississippi State transfer Mike Wright or Jack Losh, who's fighting for the job. On the bright side, the offense returns good starters, and the defense, who was really good last year, returns a lot. They're good contributors. So they'll have a slight chance to make a bowl game. I just want to bet my money on it. Another one is UCLA. The fact that Chip Kelly left for a coordinator position in the same conference must sting for the Bruins. They promoted running backs coach Deshaun Foster to be the new head coach, and as I stated before, going from position coach straight to head coach without being coordinator is hard to make, and his media day press conference did not do him any favors. Luckily, the offense returned star running quarterback Ethan Garbers and their top weapons from last year. Also, Foster hired former Kansas City Chiefs OC Eric Bieniemy to be his new offense coordinator. Despite losing some talented players in defense, the defense does return a lot of contributors, so we'll see with the new DC how that works out. The Bruins' schedule is not easy, which I feel like they might be on the outside looking in as far as making the bowl game goes. And then next you got Purdue. The Boilermakers were rebuilding last year with Ryan Walters, and I feel like with them bringing a lot of transfers in and all that, I feel like they're still kind of rebuild mode. And then last but not least, Wisconsin. They brought in Miami transfer Tyler Van Dyke to be a new quarterback, but to me, he's very similar to the quarterback they used to have in Graham Mertz. He has some talent, but just way too much inconsistency. And they returned some weapons that emerged late on in the season, which will help, and they have a good offensive line, as usual at Wisconsin, which will help Tyler Van Dyke. But again, I just do not trust him to be consistent whatsoever. So Wisconsin will be bound to make a bowl game, but I feel like they may just come up short because of Tyler Van Dyke, unless he proves me wrong. So there you go. That's my Big Ten preview. Thank you very much for listening to my podcast today. Please subscribe to my channel and tell me about me. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.